How far would you go to find out your family history? Well, Paul McGuigan tells us about his travels to Ireland and the discovery of a bizarre book about maybe the strangest McGuigan who has ever lived. This and more is awaiting for you in this episode of Genuine Chit-Chat, so stay tuned.
We did manage to find one area, and we went down there, just knocked on a couple of doors, said the name, and found one of my dad's great aunts or something, and we ended up having tea with them.
Oh wow!
I'm pretty sure that's meant to be O'Hanrahan's, and it was. Knocked on the door, they're closed. It was like, "Hi, I'm Mr. McGuigan." Says his name. It's like, "Hi." It's just because that's how it is. You just have to knock on a few doors. I know that's a really weird, stereotypical way, but especially when you go into the countryside.
I want to ask you a bit about Ireland, actually, because until listening to your amazing Where I'm From poem on Alison Shelton's awesome sort of Instagram feed, but I always check them out on YouTube afterwards because I don't really watch live stuff. I don't like the pressure that I can't pause or miss things or whatever. So I watch it on YouTube. So I'll put a link in the description to that. But I really liked your poem. I thought it was very revealing in a lot of ways. And I like the fact that you explained certain elements about, Draperstown and the man who could fly and things like that. And you are someone who you love to podcast, but you have a knack for, especially in Geek, when you would early days, especially edit yourself out. So you would just
know what you mean.
So you would just ask people questions and then you would just get their answers. And then all of us in Comics in Motion were like, "Can you stop doing that, please? We want to hear more from you." And then I just forced you.
For the benefit of people on YouTube.
Oh my God. I was going to ask what the actual book is. So
there you go.
Amazing.
The Life and Adventures of Hudy McGuigan.
Is it have you read it? Is it actually good?
I haven't read it all, no.
Just the part about your family.
Yeah, that's what it all is. It's about Hudy McGuigan. Which this is where you can get the book.
Ballinascreen Historical Society. Cool. Yes. I'll make a note of
that. They sell it on their website. They are the Historical Society of Ballinascreen, which I made that sound more Welsh somehow. Yeah, he was a character, and as often happens if you're a character in Ireland, stories get told about you. So yes, I haven't read it all, but the one that always sticks out in my head is that people swear blind that he could fly. Sorry, I completely derailed what you were saying there because I realised that the book was behind me.
I was going to ask. I was meant to ask off air as well. I was like, because I remember you mentioning Where I'm From that there is a book, but I don't think you mentioned the title of it. So, there's a book existing and there's a book that you can actually get. They're two kind of different things, but that one is one you can get. So I'll definitely let people know. Tony always listens and loves books, so I imagine although maybe it would cost loads of money, but maybe I'll just buy it and then send him one or something. But
do you know what? It doesn't. You can only get it, as far as I can tell, from the Historical Society.
Well, that's what I assume. Yeah. So
because they kind of put these things together, but I only got it, I think, just before I did that poem.
Wow.
And my dad bought it about 10 years ago.
I tell you what I might do then. I might put you on the spot here on a podcast. If I buy it and I push you maybe late in this year to come on and we review the book and we go through it all and we read all of it, because I think that would be awesome. I think it'd be so much fun.
I am well up for that.
Oh, awesome. Well, yeah, I'll get that then. When payday comes around, I'll buy the Life and Adventures of, is it Hudy? Sorry?
Hudy, yes.
Hudy McGuigan, and we'll read all of it, and that'll force you to use your reading nook, and then we'll go through it and talk about it, because no one's going to have heard of this book at all.
Oh, God, no.
Anything about it. So I'll
if you have, please tell me that you have. Please,
if you actually have, contact us. If you are a listener and you genuinely have read this book, please contact me. Show me a copy that you've got of the book. I will give you a free year of Patreon or something. Legitimately, if you already have it, I legitimately will. I'll gift you a Patreon, because I would be so impressed with that. The reason that I asking was basically the whole preamble about where I'm from is you don't generally focus on yourself very much.
That's what you're saying. Yeah, sorry.
I interview people and inadvertently talk about myself all the time. So I'm trying to undo some of that. But you spotlight on people a lot more. So when I heard where I'm from, I think that was the most amount of information you've given about yourself, but in a way of what you almost didn't say in some respects as well. Because that's a lot of what I found about people is what they don't say. When you ask certain questions and they answer it in certain ways and they omit certain information is normally more telling than what they do say.
Yeah.
And I've noticed with you don't talk about yourself much, which is fine. I'm not going to put that pressure on you, except now. So Ireland, I didn't even know you had any Irish roots of any kind. So I just wondered if you could, as we're starting to get towards the end here, tell us about your relationship with Ireland. I think you've been there a few times. Just like anything. I know you always say that your memory's rubbish, but anything you can tell me about either. You had some quite sweet stories about the video footage recorded of I think your grandmother and your uncle, and like your granddad didn't want to talk about it until later in his life and things. But with Ireland as a place, have you felt a connection there? And what was your experience been going there? I'd just love to hear about it.
Yeah. So both my parents were English. But then from my grandparents, so two are from Republic, one's from Northern Ireland, the other one was born in England. And then, so from those three, pretty much anyone going up, as far as you can tell, were Irish. Obviously, before it was the North and the Republic, so at that point it doesn't count anymore. They're all Irish. And then way back in history, Scottish. So it's always been a part of us. Still a family that lives over there. One of my godparents lives in Ireland. We've been over there a whole bunch of times, all over the place. I want to go back more. It's terrible that I haven't gone in quite a few years now.
I mean, COVID is a good excuse. That closed a lot for 2+ years. So, and then the mental withdrawal that everyone went through after COVID. So it's not, it sounds bad if you haven't been for a few years, but actually because of COVID, it's not, don't be too hard on yourself.
Unfortunately, COVID can only excuse the last 4 or 5 years. It's been a few years before then as well. But just life, I guess. But yeah, we've been to the north quite a few times. We've been down to, so my mum's side is from, those of you who know, from Kerry, from Dingle. And then as you heard from where I'm from, my dad's dad is, well, he's more from, he moved around. He's the one that is really difficult to get a straight story out of him because it's very Irish. You don't know what part of it was actual story, what part of it was just him making stuff up and having a laugh, and he didn't really talk about a lot of it. But yeah, a lot of that family is from Draperstown, where you look at the names from bygone years and it was basically all McGuigans. I think there's still a McGuigan's opticians in the middle of it. It's a very small place. And then so the video that you're talking about, my uncle recorded, so that's my dad's brother, recorded with my dad's mum, because they moved over here separately and they were both working in a pub in London, which is where they met. And then they got together there and sort of created this massive family, as Irish people tend to do. And it was real. He was trying to get them to talk about where they were from and their history, because obviously the stereotype is Irish people like to talk, but there is a certain generation that when they came over here, they didn't talk about who they were, where they came from, because it was the times of no blacks, no Irish, no dogs, all that sort of thing. So they just didn't really talk about where they came from and the stories of past, and trying to prise information out of them was really difficult. It was only, I think my dad's dad, it was kind of put into focus because he was the last grandparent remaining. And that was kind of when people were like, give us as much as possible. But even then, like, because he hadn't talked about it in so many years, he's basically forgotten. Like, he'd forgotten a lot of the basic information, and trying to get things out of him. He'd mix stories up, and you wouldn't know, was that where he was born, or was that like 10 years later, or because he moved around a lot. But then I can't remember exactly where it was now, but we did manage to find one area, and we went down there and just knocked on a couple of doors, said the name, and found one of my dad's like great aunts or something, and we ended up having tea with them.
Oh wow!
And like we went. See, this is the problem now because of my bad memory. I'm getting things mixed up. We went somewhere else as well, and we trying to track down one of my dad's cousins who still lives over there, and he owns a bar, and we were trying to like find where this bloody bar was. And driving through this town, almost giving up hope. O'Hanrahan's was the name of the place. If anyone can remind me where that is, please do. But obviously it's an Irish spelling. And so we're all giving up hope, and we're just driving down the road. And like, there's a lot of C's in that. But I'm pretty sure that's meant to be O'Hanrahan's. And it was. Knocked on the door. They're closed. It was like, hi, I'm Mr. McGuigan. Says his name. It's like, hi. It's just like, because that's how it is. Like you just have to knock on a few doors. I know that's the really weird stereotypical way, but especially when you go into the countryside, people still remember the names, and that's the kind of connection that they have because it was all done in the small villages by word of mouth. Like, part of the problem we have is trying to get records is an absolute nightmare. Because it was all parish records, and it was all scribbled down on pieces of paper and tucked away. There's a big project to try and digitize it all over in Ireland, but that is a mission, and many of them like disappeared or weren't properly done, or floods, fires, the usual kinds of things. So yeah, there was a period of our lives where we went over there pretty much every year, just to a different part, just to knock on a few church doors and say, can we look at your records? Or go to a village and knock on a few doors and say, hello, do you know this name by any chance? And yeah, sometimes we'd end up having tea with like a great aunt somewhere. Maybe find a few records in a church, or maybe just be like, sorry, it's all underwater. But yeah, so it is a big part of my history, which I want to kind of get more involved in. My parents are now on the foreign registry. They have their Irish passports. I want to do the same eventually. It is a bit of a faff now. But yeah, that's one of my many plans of the year to sort out.
Well, because I've never been to Ireland, ashamedly. Like I know a lot more about Wales. Because I'm Southampton, so I'm not actually far from Wales. It's only 2-3 hours really. And also, my dad liked speedway, motorcycle racing, little dirt tracks, and Cardiff is one of like the main places for speedway. And a lot of the Grand Prix were either in speedway or like Denmark. In Copenhagen had a couple, so we went to Denmark once to watch it. But we went to Cardiff probably once or twice a year. Normally it'd be a weekend. Watch some speedway in one of the evenings, the rest of the time just kind of explore. And then my buddy Alex, who's been on the podcast, in fact, the episode I just released of Genuine Chit-Chat was all about Canada. He lived in Wales for a while. Megan's cousin lived in Wales while she was at uni. So Megan and I have been to Wales loads of times. Even before Megan, I went there to see my mate Alex. And before that, when Dad was about, I used to go there a lot. So the small village vibes, when Alex was living in a small village, it was literally, if you just knock on some random person's door and say, I live on this road, either I know so-and-so, or can you help me out? I just need some milk. Pretty much everyone will be like, yeah, well, yeah. No one's going to come to this random village in nowhere and try and con me out of an egg. Like, no one's going to do that. But in like Southampton, where it's so densely populated, or London, you're like, what are you trying to do? Could you be swindling me? Because the community is different, because there's just such when you get over a certain amount of people, it just becomes impossible to really know everyone and understand everyone.
Yeah.
And the more tribal mentalities come out a bit more. But I've been thinking about, I want to look at my history a bit. I've not done Ancestry.com or 23andMe or whatever on earth it is. I've never done any of that stuff. And I'd be interested. Megan wants to as well. But, Megan's dad's Italian. So a lot of her dad's side, she kind of knows. It kind of can trace it into certain places. Whereas I have no idea. My dad used to say some random stuff, and it's like that. I don't know if he was just messing with me or if it's legit. Like, I think he said, in listing all of them, I think he said Spanish, Dutch, Irish, and Jewish. But I don't know if he was just messing with me at any point. Because when I went through puberty, my hair went curly, and I used to grow, like a Jewfro. And, I don't know if when I got that, he just said, you have got Jewish, just to take the piss out of me for having curly hair. Because he used to say mum slept with a milkman, which is why my hair was curly, because he had straight hair, but my mum has curly hair, and so do many other relatives. So she may still slept with a milkman. If mum's listening, sorry, I don't think he did. But dad always jokingly said that. But is that kind of thing where it's like, I have no idea. And I just think it would be, I think as I'm getting older, I want excuses to do stuff. As you and I have been speaking about this is kind of like, I wouldn't say I'm in a rut, because I think when one is in a rut, it's almost stuck for things to do. And I think I'm in the reverse, which is there are so many things I'd love to do, so many. And when I do get a couple of hours to myself, I do get to chip away at it. I get to read a comic I've been meaning to, or get to read more of a book I've been meaning to, or watch a series. I'm only just watching Echo, and the only reason I finished that, because I didn't prioritize it, but with Daredevil Born Again coming out, I want to watch that. Megan's not fussed, so I just watch that when she goes to bed. So my little project has been each evening, watch an episode of Echo when I can. And I'm trying to read. I'm trying to read comics and stuff. But I'm the way I'm realizing I'm doing stuff, reading things like Invisible Man, was I heard about it. I contacted Tony Holt, who contributed to Comics Lit, and it was on Tonya Todd's band Books Conversations. And he spoke about Invisible Man, and I was like, I want to read that. Started reading it, really enjoying it. But I wasn't quite lagging, but I was almost finding excuses to not listen because you have to really proper focus on it. So what I did is I contacted Tony and said, I want you to come on the pod around February or something. So I knew then I had a deadline. I've committed. I'd be letting someone down if I didn't finish the book by that time. And it worked out well because I finished it. I'd learned the notes, had a great conversation. So a lot of the conversations I find myself having now, the podcast is almost like my excuse to read certain things, to watch certain stuff, to do all these kinds of things. Hence why, I want to read that book about Hudy McGuigan. But if I just say I'm going to read it, I'll buy it and it'll sit on my bookshelf and I'll never read it. But if I say
exactly
to you,
what mine has done.
Exactly. So if I put a date in, or a loose idea of late 2025, so it's far enough away so we're aware, but not so far it's completely gone, but also not so close it's pressure. To then, at some point, probably halfway through this year, I'll then have to think I need to start reading that in bits and pieces. And I'll probably read half and then rush it a month before. But I think with the Ancestry thing, I would be interested by that, because if I do have Irish roots, I mean, Burton is such a boringly common name, or I should pronounce it for the American listeners, Burton is such a boringly easy to find name everywhere. I feel like it'd be quite interesting that if there's a random town or village I've not been to in anywhere in the UK, it would just be a good excuse to go there. And same as I'd like to go to Ireland, but I always want to go to Ireland, but there's nothing that's making me go.
Yeah.
But if there was a certain event or I found a connection there, that would push me to go there sooner,
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I was having a conversation with a therapist actually year before. And I was talking about this exact problem, that everything is a to-do list. The to-do list that I have in this house is immense. All the things that I know I've got to do. But all of life ends up being a to-do list, to the point of I find myself, even when I'm relaxing, in inverted commas, I'm picking certain things to do based on almost how productive I can be on it. So if I'm saying to myself, right, this is an hour for me, I'm gonna go on my computer, I'm gonna play a game. But then it's not as easy as just sitting here playing a game. What I then end up doing is I choose a particular game that doesn't consume too much of my mental capacity, so that I can also listen to a podcast or an audiobook at the same time, because I have so much to do of both that I need to get two things done at the same time. I can't ever just do something. So yeah, it's almost like you need a focus to do one thing. You need a reason, like you say. And yeah, I've not had a reason to sort of kick me up the arse and go to Ireland. And I have started doing Ancestry and Irish records. My God. So that became slightly lower down the to-do list because it was a pain in the neck. It is worth doing, because some of them, like sometimes you'd be surprised how quickly the bits piece together. And also if you find that other people have worked on family trees that connect to yours, you can just follow their line. Sometimes it's worth just double checking their work, but sometimes you can get quite a lot of work done just by finding someone, usually someone in America, who's like tracing their roots back and has gone all over the place. And they obviously have spare time on their hands, and they go down every single route possible to find their 26th cousin 19 times removed. And they've already done your family tree for you. All right. So it is worth doing, even if it's just for a little bit. Yeah, life is a pain in the arse, I think, is the overriding thing of everything I've said today. But I know what you mean. Like, you need focus to do things. You need a reason to do things. And yeah, I guess I just haven't found it yet. I need it. Hopefully this will be it. Or at least read the book.
Well, it'll be an excuse. That's it. It's always, as you say, it's an excuse to find stuff. And what you said there is so true of finding when you do stuff for yourself. Like when I read comics now, there's the odd comic, which I'm so excited to read. I'll just read it when it comes out. But it's one issue. You can read it like 5-10 minutes. And when there's the other comics, which are kind of the B-listers, I've got like 25 Star Wars comics that I want to read, but I'm in no rush to read. And whenever I'm thinking, I fancy reading a comic, I look at them and go, what's going to give me the largest sense of completion, of achievement? If I read these 4 comics that I'm not as fussed by, it will mean I finish that whole series. And in my brain, I get the little dopamine hit of, I finished that series, even though I don't really care about finishing the series, but I do kind of care, because whenever I look at that comic pile, the tiny buzz in the back of my head goes, you're still partway through these 3 series. Yeah. And it means nothing. It's completely inconsequential to anything. If I never finish that one Star Wars series that no one's ever asked me about, that no one gives a shit about, it doesn't make any difference to anyone. But that weird little sense of completion, I think. And that's what I've been trying to, with Genuine Chit-Chat, a lot of it is conversations I want to have with people. A lot of times it's wanting to catch up with people like yourself. And other times it's just like, I want an excuse to have to do this thing I've been wanting to do. And so that's what I've kind of been trying to use it for, I suppose, in a selfish way, I guess. But
yeah, I mean, whatever works. It's a good way of doing it. Everyone needs something, because otherwise, you'll just end up like me, lost in a weird sea of everything.
Well, I'm sure you'll find your way.
Now? What do I do?
Well, I'm sure you'll find your way. But if you ever need a guide, just send me loads of random stuff. I mean, what do I do at these? And I'll be like that. Or just say, hey, Mike, can I come on your podcast in 2 months' time and talk about this thing? And I'll be like, yeah. And I'll delve in, and then you'll have to, because I'll hold you accountable. So nice. Can't do that for everything. It can't be the Paul and Mike pod where every single week we just watch or do something. Because that's what I use afterthoughts for with Megan. That's literally, Megan, we have got to do an afterthoughts. We have to watch a film or finish a series. We have to record something to put on there.
You don't want to do an hour-long episode of me having emptied out the shed.
Yeah, I can't really, I can talk about a lot of things on this pod, and there's even some notes of mine that we have not touched upon, but I don't think shed clear up, unfortunately, is that. Sorry about that. I wish it was. Now. I really wish it was, because then it would get me to sort out my shed as well. But
maybe that's what we should do.
Shedcast.
Yeah.
Could you imagine a more boring podcast? I think if it was like a video thing, I'm not actually genuinely saying this because I'm empirically not doing this, but could you imagine though actually a show? It'd be quite interesting of almost like Storage Hunters, but for sheds. And all it is just you and I. If money wasn't an object, and if this got picked up by some sort of TV station or something. Channel. Well, yeah. And we just get to go to like, and we start off with your shed or my shed, and we find random stuff and see if anything's valuable. And then we just basically volunteer for people who are the older people or people who just can't be bothered to sort their shed out. And we just sift through it all. And then we spend like a week just actually taking things to charity shops or trying to sell stuff. And like, if we got paid enough that we didn't have to have that as a job, that would be so fun. Just rooting through people's like random sheds and just selling and doing stuff with them, helping them out, making some entertainment, being silly, and also actually kind of having that sense of real sense of completion and achievement of clearing out someone's shed.
Yeah, you would really need to focus on the silly bit, I think, because there's only so many sheds full of boring shit that you can't sell before the TV network goes, guys, it's not working.
There's a reason this show hasn't been done before. We're going to have to expand it. I mean, I think if you include attics and lofts, I think Loft Hunters, I'm sure that probably was already a show in America. Probably, they've got shows for everything. But like people's lofts and attics, the amount of stuff, it's mainly photo albums, but like outside of that, the amount of stuff people probably have that are just worth loads of money that they just don't know about. But I guess that is kind of what Storage Hunters is, but for people without attics.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's funny. It reminds me, complete tangent, Jeremy Clarkson, years and years ago, when it's still on Top Gear, when they sort of really transitioned from doing like a car magazine show to doing all the big adventures and stuff. And he went on to some interview show, I can't remember what it was, but they were asking him, well, why don't you do this anymore? People watch it because it's a car show. And he's like, because every car now is fine. People would only watch so many episodes of me driving around a track saying, yeah, the car's fine. You have to do something weird and wonderful, because otherwise people are just going to be bored out of their skulls. And that's what the shed show would be. You'd have to do something weird and wonderful every time. You'd have to like blow the shed up.
I was about to say, would you blow up the shed? That would be cool.
This shed is full of shite.
It would be good, like getting. There's a show, Brainiac Science Abuse, that Richard Hammond did for a while, which is I used to love that show, and they used to blow things up so much, and then they got Vic Reeves on it, and then it became crap. But when I don't like Vic Reeves, I don't know anything about him, but I've only seen him on that, and I hated him so much on that I've just got a bad taste in my mouth. He might be a lovely guy, but I just disliked him so much from Brainiac Science Abuse, mainly because I liked Richard Hammond so much. But I can imagine we do the shed thing, Shed Wars, and all we do is we go, okay, we take your shed, we take everything out of it that you think is valuable ever, anything you don't want, we keep in there. We put it on a lot somewhere. We blow it up and just see how far things go. How far is this make of shovel from Ryman's? How far is that going to go? You know, with this amount of thermite and a bit of TNT. Like, how far can you blow pieces of shed and things? This shed was built in B&Q, but it's actually built from B&Q, but it's actually 20 years old. And that's compared to this one over here that's only 2 years old. Let's compare how the different types of wood with moisture, do they explode? How far do they go? Like, that would legit be, if you made it into like, I think if it was a YouTube thing where each episode was probably only like 15 minutes or so, I think it would actually be quite entertaining. Yeah. So if anyone with too much money is willing to pay the amount of money that Paul and I make in wages to do that and to fund it all, well, I'll give it a go. Shed Wars a go. Sounds good.
Done. Let us know.
I also apologize to any video watchers because I've scratched my neck and now it's bleeding on the show. It's disgusting. I'm sorry, friends. And I keep moving I keep trying to move the top, but the way it is it's showing that one revealing little part. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry, friends.
Trying to do a Jon Stewart there, bleeding on TV.
Not quite. But I mean, we've been chatting for a lot longer than I anticipated, which is always the way. Once you get me and you going, you know, you say you don't want to talk a lot, but you do. You just.
Well, the thing is, I talk a lot of bollocks.
That's the fun, though.
I know, but I don't really get a chance to talk bollocks. So you kind of open the tap, and I just talk a whole lot of bollocks. Sometimes you ask me a question, I start answering, and 5 minutes later, I don't even know what I'm saying. I don't know what's gone on. It gets to a point where I'm just saying things now because I'm trying to link back what I said to what you said, whilst at the same time trying to remember what it was that you said that started me off in the first place.
That's the beauty of it, though. Yeah. That's the fun. That's what we want. You know, it's why it's genuine chit-chat. You know, it's why it's not called the interview show that you learn more than anything else on. It's genuine chit-chat, and I just wanted an excuse to chat with you and catch up, and that's exactly what we did. And now we've got something. By the end of the year, we'll have recorded a podcast about Hudy McGuigan. So
Hudy.
I will get on that, and I will contact that society and purchase.
Apologies in advance. There is actually a load of bollocks.
I'm sure the book is not going to be that good. No shade on the person who's written it. I'm sure there's one or two stories, but
shall I pick a random page? You feel free to stop me if this is going to be the most weirdest thing ever.
No, it's a good way to end the pod. It's a tease of what we've got for the future.
It's written in there. It's written in some old language. Some of it. What? Yeah, so there's a lot of stories in here, and a lot of it is written as they would have said it.
Oh, that's going to be even more interesting to try and comprehend.
Yes.
And there's no audiobook we can listen to of this.
No.
There's no audiobook to make it make more sense.
Unfortunately not. Not unless they've put a little bit of money in it since I looked.
Is there even a paragraph you could read?
Well, I mean, I'm trying to find a paragraph that would actually make sense on its own. And he lifted the stone, but the crowd was impatient. I don't know where this is going. I've just picked a random one. And he lifted the stone, but the crowd was impatient, evidently believing and not backward in declaring that he had no chance. And the sarcastic laugh and the biting sneer again told on the cliff's temper. He heard and understood the undergrowl. He paused, and, like a tiger selecting his prey, he shot wild, indignant glances around the insulting groups in search of a proper object for his vengeance. But in vain. At length, an old man, indulging his sarcastic humour, had the temerity to say, "Put on your clothes, ma buckleborn." I'm assuming that's Irish or something. "You want the weight, a cushla. Your dunny withstand of own arm was never made to throw a stone, a hesky." There you go.
To me, that sounded like he was trying to... First of all, I thought he was going to try and throw a rock off the edge of a cliff, which is what most of my Instagram algorithm is at the moment, which is watching people throwing rocks into, like, lakes and things.
I don't even know what to say to that.
Well, there's an Instagram called People Throwing Rocks. I think they steal a lot of their videos from other people, but it's literally just people, often men, picking up rocks and throwing them into lakes or into like frozen stuff or like down hills, and you get to see like the rocks break up, and it's so satisfying for my animal brain of just like my algorithm is so not cursed. And I've noticed all my friends' algorithms, they send me stuff and I'm like, where's this come from? They're like, it just comes up my reels. I'm like, that is awful. They're like, isn't yours filled with like really cursed stuff? I'm like, no, I've got like cute animal videos, a bit of Star Wars content, maybe a little bit of cosplay. All my adverts are heavy music because the only adverts I ever click on Instagram is heavy music. So the algorithm just knows it recommends me really random heavy stuff on Spotify, and that's it. So I'm great. It's like, cute bunny rabbit. Oh, someone throwing a rock in a lake. No. Okay, next thing. And it's just that. Like that's my algorithm. But there's nothing in there that's like offensive or bad because I just... People throwing rocks, people should check it out. It's so satisfying, and you go down such rabbit holes. Like when people throw like chunks of ice on a frozen lake, and then all the little bits of ice they flicker across the lake. And if no one knows what I'm talking about, the sound that broken ice makes on ice is unlike anything else. It sounds like music. It's really bizarre, but I encourage you to just in Instagram or any sort of TikTok. Maybe I don't really use TikTok, but just type in. Ice, like throwing ice, and you go down rabbit holes, and it's just so fun. I don't really doom scroll either. I've done it once or twice in the last few weeks, but when I catch myself doing it, I pull myself out and just put my phone down and go do something else. But normally when I'm pooping or something, I go on reels. I'm like, I'm going to be here for a finite amount of time. I'm not sat on the sofa doom scrolling. When I'm done, I'm done. So that's normally when I'm scrolling, and I just like people throwing rocks in rivers from really high places. I just find it so, or down a big mountain, and like a group of lads like kick a boulder, and you just watch it roll and slowly like break apart, and then like smashes into a tree at the end or something. I just love it. It's just I'm so simple, and it's so therapeutic that I recommend that. So that's what I thought of when I heard of old Hudy lifting up a rock. But it sounds like he's trying to break something with his rock. So
yeah, possibly. As I say, I don't know. I picked a paragraph at random of one that involved words I could actually say.
Going to be good.
Didn't work towards the end there.
Well,
so
Yeah, well, that's the tease. That's the tease for the finale.
Yes.
I was meant to do plugs in the middle of the pod because I'm trying not to do plugs all at the end because people generally tune out and then turn off before. But is there anything I've mentioned a few bits and pieces? I mean, Super Dummy is like the website in which I think most people can find you, and then it's just TBC. See what may or may not come because you're not really on social media that much.
Nope, I hate social media with a passion.
Yes, so if you still have the Instagram account that you created for going on there with Alison, just look up a couple of rock throwing videos. You won't regret it, and then just message me. I'll just love to hear. You don't have to do it tonight or anything. I won't chase you up. But when we speak about Hudy McGuigan in late 25, I want to have known you've watched at least 3 rock throwing videos and 1 ice video. That'll be your homework.
Okay.
Is there anything?
I can do that.
Good. That's not a lot of pressure. One book and 4 30-second videos. But is there anything else, like anything else in the podcast space? Just keep your eye out. I suppose Salty Professor's a thing that you're narrating for an anonymous educator, which is quite interesting.
Yes. Hopefully the audiobook will be coming out soon. I have been speaking to the people, and they've been doing the final bits and bobs on the first audiobook, Academic Inferno.
And you're doing the whole thing for that?
Yeah, it's going to be 3 books, so I'm going to be doing them all.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, so that's very exciting. It's very nice of the professor to ask me to do that in his saltiness. Yeah, so hopefully the first one should be coming out soon.
We should be able to promote it then, because if it's out this year, when we do our next pod, we'll be able to promote it then. But obviously, if we can always talk about it before, and you can always speak to the individual, and I can always send some questions and stuff, and then I can, if they want to promote it and stuff, and if you want to promote it, then I'm always happy to have you on again in this year. We can chat about that, and then I can always send questions in advance to get them to answer it if they want to. Again, I don't really know what they want.
We've tried to be thinking about exactly how we're going to do this.
Yeah,
like obviously they want to do they want to promote it, but they also don't want to use their voice.
Yeah,
they like using my voice, but unless we find some way of getting them to answer the questions in advance or something, yeah, we're working on that one. But yeah, we'll have a Chit-Chat.
Yeah,
and then as soon as we know what's going on, we can try and work something out.
Awesome.
Because the actual book themselves, the first book's out, the second book is now out as well. So you can get Academic Inferno and Academic Purgatory in wherever you get your books from. But they're published by 4 Horsemen. So if you look them up, the books are available there. And then, the first audiobook hopefully soon. And then I've got the script for the second audiobook. So hopefully that will be following not too long after.
Well, that's what you've been keeping yourself busy with. I mean, you say you haven't been able to do podcasts and stuff, but actually recording audiobooks, that's pretty awesome. Like voice actor stuff. That's
nice because it's still getting myself in that little world. But it's just me, so I can do it whenever I have a chance.
No, exactly. Well, that's awesome. Well, I'll put details of that in the description. I'll link to 4 Horsemen as well. And yeah, that'd be awesome. We'll talk about that at some point in the future. But otherwise, people watch this space for us talking about Hudy McGuigan. The old Hudy. I'm going to be, if I can't find that book, if they stop selling it, I'll be devastated.
I will be as well.
I think if I can't get a copy of it, I think what will have to happen is that you read yours and then send it to me, or take photos of every page and send that to me, one or the other. Yeah,
there's quite a few pages. I might just send it to
you. Make lots of notes, send it to me, then I'll read it and make some notes and send it back to you. But I mean, I imagine they probably, if it's a historical society, I suspect it will probably cost a pretty penny to get it done, but I think they will do it. Each one. Oh, is it still there? Is it available?
It is still on. Prepare yourself. I don't know if your Patreon money will stretch this far. £5.50.
Is that? I thought it was going to cost loads because it's like it would be a one-off at £5.50. That's I wouldn't even have to wait till payday for that. I'll buy that in a minute. Amazing. Oh, I'm well excited now.
There you go.
So awesome. So watch this space. Paul will return to Genuine Chit-Chat to talk about Academic Inferno, probably. I imagine we'll try and promote that in some respect, because I will be checking out the audiobook. And if not before then, Hudy McGuigan. So just thank you, Paul. It's been a pleasure chatting with you and catching up again, as always.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for giving me more insight into your life and the Vegas wedding and Ireland and all that jazz, and we'll talk more in the future.
Definitely. Thank you very much. You are a delight. I appreciate you and all you do.
Oh, that's very sweet of you. Well, thank you, friends, for listening. Subscribe, like, all that jazz. Follow at Genuine Chit-Chat, and we'll speak to you very soon.